Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 155.
Yeah, 155 in the house, and we are back with a reaction video. Woo woo.
I love how your voice just elevates on those. So here's the thing. Well, do I say here's the thing a lot?
Yeah, here's the thing.
I think I do. I'm kind of tired. I mean, I knew a guy that would always be like, here's the bottom line. So I tried avoiding that, but you know.
Everybody picks up their own thing.
If I could get like out of my vocabulary, I'd be happy with that.
That'd be good. Yeah, I wonder. I've caught myself saying certain things over and over as like my little catchphrase. I can't remember what they all are right now, but like my in-laws always say, "You know it." Like after every couple of sentences, it's like,
"Wait, yeah, your wife says that too."
Day, you know it? Does she?
Yeah,
she picked it up from them.
Okay,
but we not make fun of them, but we tease them about that. But yeah, it's you know it.
The worst is I say, "All right." And I don't know if I did it on the podcast, but when I was teaching, I remember, you know, your first year, like everybody's mean to you, right?
Not to me.
Okay, well, they were to me. I don't know. I was 23, whatever. And I had kids that would do tally marks every time I say, all right. So at the end of the class, they would turn in their sheets. It was, drove me crazy.
No, that's good. I actually had a master teacher.
That was good?
I said like several times during one of my lectures when I was student teaching, and my master teacher was like, I just said it right now. My master teacher came to me and said, like, do you want to fix this? And I said, yeah. And she says, ask a student that you trust in the class to keep a tally mark and think about it. And just by cognitively thinking about the fact that you're saying it, someone's keeping track, it's going to help reduce the number of times you say it. So anyways, this isn't a speech podcast.
I know. People have turned off the podcast.
What are we going to be reacting to today?
So I thought we would do something kind of different. Now, we're always looking for ideas, but I thought, you know, I found some old school eBay like footage. They say like, I just said it. All right. And, you know, it is eBay's 25th anniversary. Yeah. What is that? The golden, the silver anniversary? It's one of those. Anyways. And I thought, hey, why don't we see how far has eBay come along since then?
Yeah.
Right now.
Celebrate the golden days of eBay.
Yeah. Okay. The golden days that we weren't a part. Well, I was kind of a part of it. I would say in 1999 and 2000. Well, I don't want to take a trip down memory lane. I want to do a reaction to video. So there's 3 videos here. One video is an interview. It's a quick snippet from the guy that bought the first item on eBay.
Nice.
Another one is Pierre Odemi. I always mess up it. Pierre O. Okay. Omidyar. Okay. And he's the guy that founded eBay, right? And the news report will say it better. And so he talks about the feedback system and all that. And then there was a 60 Minutes report that came out in 2002. And so I thought we could break that down and just take a look at it. Because, and this isn't just a commentary. We hope this brings you value, because my intention behind this was we could talk a lot about why did eBay change and how did that change us as sellers, and why are there good best practices within those changes we should be implementing now as sellers on the platform.
Yeah, we got to make it practical
and valuable.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing, right?
Practical, valuable. No, something can be practical but not necessarily valuable.
Yeah, but if it's practical, it's valuable.
Not necessarily.
I don't know. Okay, what do you think? Don't tell us in the comments. It's not worth your time. All right, so we're going to start off with the very first purchase ever made on eBay.
Yeah, history.
Hi, Pierre. Hi, Devin. My name is Mark Fraser, and I've got a story for you. Back in about 1995, I was on the road doing quite a lot of presentations, and I'd seen a couple of laser pointers, and I thought, boy, I want one of those. They cost something over $100, and I couldn't afford one. My boss certainly wasn't going to go for it.
Your bank.
But I'm an electronics geek, so I thought I'd build one. So I acquired a laser diode from one of our
Why did we choose a lake
suppliers,
background?
and went about designing a circuit to make it work. Then I discovered that they put out a conical diverging beam, and this just wasn't going to work. Somebody pointed me at a brand new website, which turned out to be eBay, and I was amazed to discover a broken laser pointer that was listed. And I thought, hey, I can probably make that work. I have to say, that was only the beginning of a long eBay career, which is still going on to this day. I'm still acquiring things. I'm quite proud of my 2,000 plus purchases and my 100% positive feedback on eBay.
That's the kind of buyer you want.
Yeah, I wonder if I've ever sold anything to him. Wouldn't that be cool? Like,
I guess. I don't know.
No, that'd be awesome if like I sold an item to the first eBay customer ever.
I know. Well, I think that broken laser pointer is like in display. I think Doug told us it was in display at the eBay headquarters, which hopefully one day we'll be able to tour.
That'd be cool.
So they did offer it up. It's just there's this thing that happened, this thing called the pandemic.
Yeah,
kind of stops us. Now, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, think about before that. Where would you get a laser pointer? A broken laser pointer, nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I grew up in a time when you can get a laser pointer from an ice cream man or from
what?
a 99-cent store.
What are you talking about? Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm 10 years older than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So,
sorry.
Yeah, the technology.
I'm like, where are you going with this? The ice cream man.
The technology had gotten cheap enough by the time I was that would have mattered for me, I guess. But yeah, I can imagine like even going back. Like I remember I had a guy that I knew. Was like a second cousin or something like that, and he owned one of the first, like when DVD players first came out, right? He's like, this is going to be the next big thing. And he would like, I
paid $300 for my first DVD player.
Yeah. And it's like, I can imagine. And now you can get DVD players for like $14.99 on Amazon. And it's probably 10 times the quality of the other ones, right? Like technology advances so quickly, which a lot of times is why maybe patience is a good thing when you see new technology come out. Like, you know, it's like, oh, virtual reality. This is so cool. Maybe wait like 5 years and it'll be half the price and twice as good. But yeah, I mean, I think the internet, I mean, kind of just starting out as a place where people could buy things, it makes sense. I mean, before that technology was widespread, before, you could just go and get one. I could see why. I mean, it's interesting that he looked it up and was able to find, hey, there's somebody that's selling this online. Because I wonder how many people were buying things online prior to eBay.
Well, and I remember the stores to go to where there was service. Do you remember service merchandise?
No.
Oh man, service merchandise was like a catalogs. It was like a catalog you could see, but you can go inside the store and there was a catalog in the store. It was kind of interesting. And there was a lot of cool gadgets, but you know, there was like Circuit City and yeah, there was Radio Shack. But to find a deal, like you're kind of stuck. Right. And the reason I bring up Mark Frazier, for the first person to ever buy anything on eBay, is that those buyers are still there. Right. Like if you're getting new into reselling, you can sell broken stuff all the time and you can sell it for good money. I mean, some of my biggest sales have been items that were for parts. I mean, I have sold like espresso machines that I didn't bother testing that somebody was looking for. So it's still the same clientele.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of seemed like a non sequitur when you kind of went from the original customers are still there. You can sell broken stuff, but I guess I can kind of see what you're saying.
What do you mean? You can't. eBay is where you can sell pretty much anything.
But I don't know how that connects to the fact that like the original customers from 25 years ago are still buying things
that are broken.
I guess I could see how it connects.
No, it's eBay. eBay to me has not changed. Like you can't buy anything broken on Amazon. Right, you can buy used stuff, but if it's broken, you can't. I mean, technically, you can't even sell a VCR if it's missing the remote. People do it all the time, right? And this is what I love about eBay is that eBay still gives you the ability. And we'll talk about this later on. And again, we're not a eBay. You know, what do you call those? Like commercial. We're not an eBay commercial, but if you're a reseller or if you're new to selling and you're seeing everybody picking up all brand new stuff and doing retail arbitrage, there's so many. There are some people I know that they just sell broken stuff. Like, and what they do is they'll take it and they'll part it out and their entire store, they can fit their entire store in a regular, a bedroom because it's all parts and they have it all in little drawers and in a tool chest. And that's what they do. So anyways, I think it's interesting because, there's, we've talked about the myth that it was about Pez dispensers and all that stuff. But yeah, it's kind of ironic I don't know if ironic's the right word, that it was something broken that sold on eBay, which again tells you that you can sell whatever you want on eBay, pretty much.
That's intriguing.
Unless it's a CPAP machine or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our next clip.
For using the website. Today, 8 months later, there are nearly 69 million, and they spend $59 million every day. And eBay CEO Meg Whitman says it's only the beginning.
I think it is really innovative and unique concept that fundamentally is a better way to buy and sell. I think we have the potential to fundamentally change the way people do things.
I think that's a fundamentally good point she made there.
Well, there's a few things. So, being that you're a youngster, do you know Meg Whitman ran to be the governor of California?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
And she just started this new business called Quibi. Do you know what Quibi is? So it's well, the fact that you don't know is because it's so there literally is this. There's a site that they're trying to make super quality videos. Like they hired, like they hired.
I've seen ads for it.
Yeah, they hired all these A-list actors and they put together these shows that are supposed to be like 10 minutes, and yeah, it's not working out. Like it was supposed to boom in the pandemic, but again, the only reason I say that is Meg Whitman's always been an entrepreneur, and I don't know, what she thinks about stuff like that, but it did transform things. I remember back in '99 when I was in college, my buddy, going to thrift stores in Chicago, and I've shared this a lot of times. And I remember he's like, "Hey, Ronaldo, come along, go to the thrift stores." And I remember him buying Gap jeans, Abercrombie jeans, stuff for $3 and flipping them for $50. And I was like, "This is like, who does this, right?" The only place you ever understood that did these kind of things was maybe the swap meet, flea market. Did you ever go to a flea market or swap meet back in the day?
Oh yeah, as a kid, man, I loved it. I went all the time. When I got my first job in a car, I was there every chance I could get.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a primarily like the entire population does that, right?
No, for
right.
Sure.
I mean, I would say growing up, I didn't know many people that did, but to me, eBay feels like you're going to the store, but it doesn't feel like you're going, there's anything wrong going to swap meet or the flea market, but it's a different feel.
Maybe. And then the other thing that's kind of interesting too, like my parents got into eBay when it kind of first started getting really popular. And I remember around that time was when Weird Al Yankovic came out with his I Bought It on eBay store. Do you remember that song?
No, he had a song about eBay?
Oh man, we have to do a reaction
bring
to
him
that.
Bring him back as a spokesperson of eBay.
Man, it was great. And so yeah, the whole concept is buying something on eBay.
I'm looking that up right now.
It's an amazing video. But that's how you know that it was getting really popular in culture is when, a satirist or a humorist is
all the OG eBay sellers right now are totally resonating with you. I've heard this before. Okay, so what was it? What was it again?
I mean, I don't remember what the exact name of the video was or what the content of the song was, but it was Weird Al.
I just pulled it up.
Yeah, bought it on eBay.
I'm gonna read can I read the lyric
Do
real
it.
quick? Should we play it? Is there a way to insert this after the fact, after production?
All right, yeah, hold on one second. Ready, set, pause. All right, so what we're going to do, we're not going to actually put the video up. We'll put a link down in the description below, but we'll play a little clip of the song for you. If you've never heard the eBay song by Weird Al, which I can't believe Orlando has not, being that he's an eBay seller.
Look at all the value we're bringing you on this podcast.
Yeah. All right, so we'll listen We'll listen to a little bit of it, and then we'll move on. And hopefully we don't get this video taken down for copyright or something. So here we go. Yeah.
Little Backstreet Boys?
Backstreet Boys.
Oh my.
A used pink bathrobe, a red.
All right, other youngsters have no idea who Weird Al is.
Snow globe, a Smurf. TV tray.
And that's what eBay was. You just bought random stuff on eBay in the day.
My house is filled with this crap.
I like this better than the original though.
Yeah.
Just part of me. I don't know.
Bubble wrap most every day.
That's hilarious. All right, so yeah, if you haven't seen the whole thing, you got to go on and check that out.
And now Mike and I debated, was there a real video? Because we wanted to put it on here, but
like a music video.
Yeah.
It seems like there's just like lyric videos or people have made like pictures and stuff, but I don't think there was an actual official music video, but it's an hilarious song. And maybe one day we'll go into more of the pop culture of it or whatnot. But anyways, yeah. So that just goes to show you can buy anything on eBay. Well, that's what brought it up.
We so sidetracked on this one.
Not really. We were talking about the popularity of eBay at the time, right? When it was growing.
True,
the fact that people bought just the most random things. Like now I feel like eBay is a little bit more official and you'd buy like legitimate things that you might go to Walmart or Target to buy. But back in the day, it was like, hey, I've got this like Smurf, TV tray. Like, I'm going to sell it on eBay. And someone's like, oh, I love the Smurfs. Like my mom was really into, what were the carousel horses, and my dad really liked, certain like, so different. Like if you were really into like a little niche thing, you could just find people's random junk on eBay. Was kind of broken laser pointers.
Hopefully we don't get a YouTube strike.
Yeah.
But that was, I think it was worth it. We won't get a strike on the podcast side.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
True.
All right. So speaking of that, so eBay is kind of interesting because even though, like, you see, what is it? I think it was like 80% of what's sold on eBay is brand new. We're only like 20% of the community, right? So obviously things have shifted, right? But I think that's the beauty of it, and the fact that if you're a reseller, right, you can do retail arbitrage, but you can also do used. I mean, I do it all the time, and I really do believe it helps your store, because if you can find those items that you can flip quick that people are looking for, it keeps things triggered and the algorithm triggered, and allows you to get that continuous business. So maybe it's something you want to think about. I've heard people say having cheaper, low cost RA items that are new that people are looking helps your store. So just something to think of. I want to bring that value into this podcast.
Yeah.
And Weird Al.
All right, here we go.
eBay seems to have tapped into something uniquely American and entrepreneurial. It's an auction house that never sleeps, where anyone can be a buyer or a seller.
I think I am most surprised by the fact that we have become the largest site on the web for the buying and selling of used cars, motorcycles, and auto parts. You have to remember that in September of 1998, 8% of the items on eBay were Beanie Babies.
4 years ago.
Whoa. 4 years ago.
Beanie Babies,
So
man.
from Beanie Babies to Beamers, I'm not sure that anyone would actually have predicted that.
She's practiced that line
You sell a
before.
motorcycle every 18 minutes.
Correct. And an SUV every 30 minutes.
And it's not.
My uncle bought a like rare limited edition. I don't know, rare. I guess it's limited edition Mountain Dew. You'd appreciate this Mountain Dew Mustang car. Like they worked with Mustang and created like a limited number of these like Mountain Dew green cars that said Mountain Dew on them or whatever. And he bought that on eBay and drove like 900 miles or whatever to go pick it up.
Really? No,
Yeah.
I had a buddy in college that I remember. I thought it was crazy, but he bought a car on eBay. And it even still, would you buy a car on eBay?
No, primarily because I'd want to test drive the car and actually look at it and all of that. But I don't know. I mean, maybe if, I've purchased cars that I found on Craigslist. I mean, it's just a matter of going and seeing it. So I guess the same thing could happen on eBay. I don't know if you're like, it's near me, I'm going to go check it out first and then I'll do the transaction through eBay so it's all safe and above the table or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
It's weird because I didn't know about that. I used Auto Trader. Do you remember Auto Trader?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's old. So is it even around anymore?
I don't know.
Or I'm really dating my 40-year-old self. I mean, my eyebrows do that job itself, but and my dude, this keeps getting grayer and whiter. It's I don't know what's going
You're
on.
going to look like Santa soon with a big gray beard.
Another side hustle. So, hey, but aside from all that, so it's interesting because I still think, I don't know. I wonder how many people I hear that, car parts is still the place. And we know actually there are some sellers that sell car parts like all the time, right?
Okay.
Like Road to Resell, right? He's big on cars. I remember when I don't know if they've dropped a podcast lately, but they used to have a podcast. You guys should come back, Aaron, if you're hearing this. But so car parts are definitely a place, I think that, I don't know, maybe you disagree, but I don't think it's as saturated, right? Because you have to have a connection, or you have to be willing to go to the pick your parts, know the car parts, know the tools. But I had a friend that it was Beamer parts, and he had like 50 different cup holders, but he was just like a collector. Like whenever his cup holder he had like 5 Beamers. So I think you know who this guy is. He was a big Clash of Clans guy.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Okay. So he just kept them, and I kept telling him, I'm like, hey, dude, sell these on eBay. So if you're looking for a field that doesn't take as much, it does take work, but maybe there's less competition, or maybe we're wrong. People are going to go in the comments and go, Orlando, I was part of that and I got out of it and I went to clothing and it was less saturated.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
Which would be pretty bad.
I'm sure it's a hard market to be in. But when we were at eBay Open,
I
would say the majority of the people that were walking around that kind of had like a special badge color because they were like the top % of sellers, almost all of them were car part sellers.
That is true. There was a guy, remember, he was like, we were like, what was weird was we were invited, right, to speak on different platforms. And then you're seeing this guy and the guy's like, oh yeah, I have, 18,000 listings. And remember, that was at the time, I think there were issues. That's when eBay said no more watermarks. And they're like, yeah, we had 18,000 items with watermarks. And then they had to hire somebody to do some kind of algorithm to remove all the watermarks from their items. So, but you think about, and Beanie Babies, I think Beanie Babies were big, I personally believe, because of eBay, right? Did you ever read that story that guy, his kid's college investment was in Beanie Babies?
Oh, jeez.
So he bought thousands. And Beanie Babies were hot for a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was when McDonald's was doing Beanie Babies in the McDonald's bag, I worked at a baseball and game shop. That's what it's called, baseball and games. And they basically sold collectible stuff. I sold Pokemon cards for them. I started working with them when I was 12. And one of the things when Beanie Babies were big, he was selling them on eBay and making a ton of money. And one of the ways he could make money really fast was just selling the toys from McDonald's. So his thing was, if you went to McDonald's and bought a Happy Meal from McDonald's and brought the Beanie Baby to him, he'd pay for your Happy Meal, right? Because he didn't have the time to go. Basically, he was hiring people to source for him, right? And so my dad heard that and he's like, oh, like, well, how many can I buy? And he goes, well, as many as you buy, I'll pay you for. So my dad, I remember this day like distinctly, and I was only like 11 or 12 years old. We go through the McDonald's parking lot and my dad says, I want 100 Happy Meals. And you could just hear them on the other end. They're like, what? And he says 100 Happy Meals. And they're like, you want 100 Happy Meals? And he said, yes. And so they start making it and we're like 10 cars behind, or by the time we get up there, they start handing them to me. My dad looks in and they're not Beanie Baby toys. They're something else. My dad's like, you guys are supposed to have Beanie Babies. They're like, oh no, we're out of Beanie Babies. We've been out for like 3 days now. And my dad's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I bought 100 Happy Meals because the guy was going to pay for them if I brought him the Beanie Babies. And they're like, well, we've already made like 40 Happy Meals and we can't like unmake them. And they said, here's the deal. My dad's like, I don't want to buy all these. So they were like, okay, if you give us the toy back, we'll just give you the food because we're just going to throw it away anyways. The toy's the only part that's like the most valuable in what we give out in these Happy Meals. So we got all of that for free anyways. But it's just a crazy memory. But yeah, I mean, he was sourcing Beanie Babies from McDonald's because McDonald's had a limited supply, I'm assuming, of Beanie Babies, and even those were selling.
Yeah, no. And here's the thing. They're not worth anything anymore. All the time. And here, if you're new, you will get caught up in that. You'll show up at a thrift store. You'll see a Beanie Baby. You'll do a soul church, and they will be sold.
In a case, too. In like a lot of times you see Beanie Babies in like glass cases with like 3-inch thick plastic.
And the listing will say like flawed, like one of a kind. It's like $80,000. And you're like, what? Like, I even after like 3 years of reselling, I had a moment where there was all these Beanie Babies and I started searching, and I even started falling for it again. Going, maybe there's something I'm missing. And there was a Pawn Stars episode, I think, too, where they brought in the Princess Diana one. And yeah, it was the same old thing, right? So listen, we've talked about this it was an episode. It's like episode, I don't know, 29 or something like that. But yeah, we truly believe in there's either money laundering or something shady that's going on. But yes, there's no value. Now, I found the story about the investment. Family spent $100,000 on Beanie Babies. His father maintained 5 separate collections, hoping the investment would put his kids through college. Unfortunately, that never happened. The Beanie Babies bubble busted.
Well, that's just poor financial decision by him because $100,000 is going to put your kid through college anyways, or your kids through college. And then the other thing,
it'll put one.
Well,
depends where you go to school, but most likely one.
Well, but that's the thing though, is if he was hoping that it was an investment, investments typically double every 7 to 10 years. So if you put that in just a regular, some kind of a regular college savings plan that's being invested into some kind of, stocks or bonds or whatever, you're going to be increasing that money anyways, right? So that's not 7 years from now, that $100,000 isn't $100,000 anymore. So yeah, that's just, if you're going to buy commodities as an asset, going back to our last video, we were talking about assets, make sure you're buying the right kinds of commodities. Collectibles may be
Lego may be the only exception.
Maybe. I don't.
Legos do better than stocks sometimes.
You've said that a couple of times, but that's
true.
It can't. Here's the thing: something like that can't be true across the board.
No, not across the board.
Because otherwise, people wouldn't be in Wall Street. They would just buy all the Legos, right? Like it doesn't work like that.
Warren Buffett would have the largest Lego collection on the history of mankind. Yep. No, you're right. I hear what you're saying. All right, let's see where we go here from entrepreneurs to auctions.
As many as 150,000 people have literally given up their jobs to create their own businesses selling on eBay.
eBay gives us access to the world. You can find anything. You can find it at a price you can afford.
Exactly.
This group of bargain hunters are devoted eBay users from all over the country. Their loyalty and enthusiasm is what has helped build eBay into the powerhouse it is today.
I've gotten to the point now where I look to eBay for anything I need in the house before I go out, including Tupperware, small appliances, clothing, Christmas gifts, wedding gifts, Father's Day gifts.
Just wait till Amazon comes
Whatever
around.
it is, I go to eBay first.
What is it that makes this so compelling?
It's a gamble. It is a gamble. There's a little bit of gambling. You're gambling. Am I going to get the auction?
No, there's only auctions, yeah.
85, win the back at 95.
An eBay auction works exactly the same way as an old-fashioned one. The highest bidder wins.
Yeah, I think that was the appeal back in the day, is like you could auction and like you could get things for really cheap. You can get them underpriced, or like people try and snipe last minute. And a lot of times it was like, I know my parents got suckered into a lot of things that we didn't need. Like we got a glass chess set one time that was only 99 cents or like 97 cents. And so they were suckered into buying it, and it was like $30 shipping. And those you can get for like $8 at like any store. So there
was a time for auctions.
Oh, for sure. And even still, like auctions have their place, but I think, auctions being like the primary way things were sold then. And there was excitement to that. There were definitely things where, we'd be sitting up late. Like my mom would be like, okay, I'd spend up to $35 on this. And we'd be really excited about getting a new toy or something that we were waiting. And so we're putting bids in, seeing it go up. And then you're like waiting for the countdown. And it's an adrenaline rush, right? Like are we going to win it? Are we going to not? And sometimes you left disappointed. And sometimes you were like, we won it, so, it's good times. And it's definitely much better, because then I saw a lot of people getting kind of suckered into the auctions where, it only goes up a penny and you only have to pay, like, I got this laptop for $37, but not realizing that the amount of money that goes into those auctions, right? Like, That's a totally different game. Like eBay was just like they said there, it was like a real auction at an auction house. It didn't have any other weird rules and attachments that made it where you had to pay for every bid or anything like that. It was just, you paid if you won.
So I got a confession. We used to do a lot of shill bidding in college. You know what shill bidding is? So my buddy, who was the main eBay guy, would tell us, like, everybody in the dorm, like, bid on this item. And so we'd bid the item up. I mean, it was the Wild West, man. Like, it was crazy. So I know eBay obviously has policies. I still think shill bidding happens.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right? I don't know if there's a way to stop it. I mean, if I called you and like, hey, Mike, I put this up, and there's another, and you just go to town. But, there is a place for bidding. It's still, I think if it's a hot item, right, that's hard to get, you may be able to do an auction and it'll take off.
Or you don't know the value of an item.
Or you don't know the value and just want to see what the market says. But there's the other side where best offer also allows you to determine what the market is, right? Depending on how people send you offers. So there's different ways to do that. It's also a good way to clear out your store if you want to get rid of stuff. Just make sure you put that initial bid where you're okay letting go of stuff.
That's true.
All right, let's move on. Oh, we moved to a different video.
I didn't sit down and say, hey, I'm going to be innovative today. It was really trying to experiment with new tools. I mean, I'm a software engineer. So basically the latest, coolest, shiny toy at the time was the web, was interactivity. And the way I expressed my creativity was through writing code.
So this is the founder.
Fast forward to Labor Day weekend of 1995. I sat down at my computer and started writing a script, a Perl script, to create a very basic auction mechanism. And the code was really simple. It allowed you to list an item for sale. Simple. You could have a title and a description and the starting price. And you could also see a list of all the items that were listed. Obviously, that was important. And then you could bid on an item. And then the great thing about the web, especially in those days and still today, is that once you put something out there, you start getting feedback right away from people.
That's why open source is the best. I'm a big fan of open source software. But yeah.
So if he was on Apple, he couldn't do it?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
Honestly, most of those kinds of really creative coding, specialists, they're playing with Linux, they're playing with open source software because I've desired at times, like, man, it'd be so cool to code. But, in my mind, what coding is like a hacker sitting in front of multiple computers doing all kinds of cool, fun stuff. And really it's its own language. It's very mathematic. And I've tried a couple times and it's just not my cup of tea. But the people who come up with that stuff, I mean, our life, it's amazing to think that our life wouldn't be the way it is today if it wasn't for people who originally knew how to put ones and zeros together and then figure out scripts to put those together in ways that were easier. But yeah, if you look at a page of coding, it's amazing to think that there are people out there clever enough, smart enough, and are doing things that improve all of our lives. So if you're out there and you're a coder and you know how to do those things and you're making apps and stuff like that, thank you. It's pretty awesome. A little jealous, but at the same time, I don't want to put the work in. So my hat's off to you.
Well, the other part of it too is this guy did it on the weekend, right? The idea, I mean, obviously it must have been mulling around for a while, but back in 1995, right? I think I remember thinking like we arrived in technology, right? I mean, how old were you in 95?
6.
Oh, okay. Well, I was a sophomore in high school, but I remember like the old school tangent computers or the Packard Bells. And I remember having to wait for my internet to digitize and come through. And
when things went wrong, you had to type in like /system or whatever, and it'd take you back to the MS-DOS days.
Oh my goodness!
I actually learned. I learned how to play, like do stuff with computers. Like I don't know how to code, but I can work my way around like Linux program stuff. And I was just playing with like MS-DOS and trying to figure out how to do things. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's cool that, again, like you said, like technology has come so far so fast. It really is amazing.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So think of all the platforms that are around now, right? I mean, there's at least 12 platforms right now, right? I mean, we got Mercari, Poshmark, Depop, Together. I'm sure there's StockX, there's Go. We're missing something, but it's all basically followed kind of the same equation. I mean, it's a little different, right? Like StockX, I don't know if you know StockX. If I find a brand new pair of shoes, I can list it in the store, and it's not like somebody has to bid on it if there's already an active buyer for it. So the moment I list it, boom, it's sold. It's done, right? So I encourage you guys to use StockX if you're looking at sneakers and so on. I've been trying to do those Nike drops lately. It hasn't worked out for me. So, but what I was gonna say is there's always something new, and so I'm waiting. Everybody's always saying, "Hey, it's only gonna be eBay and Amazon." I think there's gonna be something different coming. And maybe it's Facebook shops. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see what happens. All right, let's go to our next clip here. Oh, feedback. This is going to be
It's actually in February of 96. I came up with the idea of creating the feedback forum. And basically what that was to encourage people to give each other feedback based on how did their transaction go. And since I was getting all of these complaints, I assumed that it would be mostly negative, that, it was a forum for people to give each other negative feedback. And so I wrote this little letter to the community in February of 96, announcing the feedback forum. And I basically, in it, I said, hey, listen, people are basically good. We all try to do a good job. We all try to do our best, but sometimes things don't work out. It'd be great, let's give each other the benefit of the doubt. But if you're having real problems with somebody, now there's a feedback forum. Basically, you don't have to complain to me. There's a feedback forum. If your complaint is worthy of complaint, then you should do it publicly, and complain on the public forum. But while you're at it, also think about giving praise where praise is due. If somebody does something nice for you, wouldn't it be nice in this world if we could actually start recognizing that? And let's give each other praise where praise is due. And, we found that when you give somebody the opportunity to give praise, to give positive feedback when it's well-deserved, people love to do that. It's very gratifying yourself to be able to give praise.
I have to have an auto reminder on mine.
And so anyway, so the feedback forum was just a remarkable, incredibly gratifying testament to human nature and the fundamental goodness of human nature. But then also from a business perspective, it was really the thing that allowed eBay to succeed because it gave people a chance, a way to know that they could actually trust a complete stranger.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Do you think that's true still?
No, well, maybe. I think now there's a culture where, for the most part, immediately people, I think positive feedback is just the given, like offer up, right? Like I like the way their system is set up. I think it's offer up, maybe it's like but one of them where you give feedback, but you can't see their feedback until you give yours, right? Huh. Or it's like 7 days, right? Okay. So that way you can't just base your feedback off of theirs. But I think there's in eBay, there's going to be people who are going to complain no matter what. But I think there's just a general culture of, for the most part, you get something, you give a positive review. The seller is always going to say, great buyer, fast payment. You know, it's just the culture, I think, is it's expected. So I think the negative is almost the exception. Even if somebody has like an okay experience, they're not going to leave, for the most part, negative feedback just because the culture is almost so positive. Like, even though it's not really positive, I think. So it's almost a bad thing in the sense that, do you really know you can trust these people? Now, if I see somebody with 23,000 sales and they've got a bunch of stars, I know I'm not getting scammed. But at the same time, you know, just because somebody says A+ seller doesn't really tell me tons.
Yeah, I don't know. I find that, and I don't even have like a ton of positive feedback. I'm not, you know, I don't have 20,000. There's some people that have like 40,000, 100% like great feedback. I do believe that feedback as a seller allows you to make higher end sales. Like I sell stuff for more, and I do believe one of the reasons is because people trust it, and also have a free return policy. But at the same time, I'm still not sold on eBay's argument that why we can't give negative feedback to buyers, right? Because we actually did ask eBay execs at eBay Open. Do you remember what their answer was? Do you remember where we were?
I do.
On the couches outside that room.
I do remember.
Right after I interrupted Devin.
Yeah. I remember the conversation, but I don't remember the answer at the moment.
Well, the answer was basically that they felt that, well, I think they did a study or something that it prevents people from going on the platform because they're worried about getting negative feedback. But okay, well, you don't want, if somebody's worried about getting negative feedback, why are they worried about negative feedback? Because they're not going to pay you right away? Because they're going to cancel? Because they're going to return? Like, why would somebody be worried about that?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense for the most part. Like, every other store, like, a store gets a rating on Yelp, but individuals don't, right? Like, if I walk into a Walmart, I don't walk in and then they scan me and say like, oh, he's only a 3-star customer, right? Like, they're expected, they're expected to provide service to me, not necessarily the other way around, right? So it kind of makes sense. I think just in general, and I could see that. I mean, if you're a first time buyer and you were a little late paying, and all of a sudden you get a seller who says like slow payment, you'd be like, man, this platform is mean.
It should be instant payment. Now, hopefully as managed payments are rolled out, which by the way, I think I'm going to sign up for here soon. So we haven't shared this yet, but yeah, I think I'm going to sign for it soon because I have concerns that if everybody floods managed payments trying to sign up, that there's going to be some issues. So I'm going to try to get in before everybody else. So by the time you hear this podcast, I'm already going to be signed up for managed payments. So, but I don't know. I think I just remember back in the day, like you wouldn't, you basically held, that was the other thing. They didn't want people holding feedback hostage.
Yeah.
Like they felt that sellers were also not getting positive feedback because buyers refused to leave them feedback because they felt that sellers were going to give them negative feedback. So no one was leaving feedback.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts?
I like the offer up model. I think that's a cool model. Like,
is it offer up?
Maybe it's either offer up or let go. I can't remember which one it was, but I saw it and I remember thinking like, oh, this is really neat. Like it says so-and-so, John Doe sent you feedback on your recent, sell or purchase. In order to see, you must either wait 7 days or provide feedback. Wow. So then I provide. So that way, if he left me really negative, I can't just retaliate back,
The saddest part about all those, though, and including eBay feedback, is the templates. Right? I mean, how many times do you get an eBay feedback? You're like, oh, cool, they really liked it. And then you go and you search like buyers feedback for other people, and it's the same.
Well, I mean, if it wasn't for templates, again, I think people don't want to be inconvenienced. So I like on offer up and let go where there's just the on time, great communication, friendly. I like being able to hit those things and not have to like type a paragraph for this person. Because if that's what you had to do.
Hey, eBay, that might be something good to do.
Yeah.
If you're listening.
One thing that I hate is when you get a survey, right? Like a work survey, and you're going through it and it's like 1 to 5. Are you satisfied, dissatisfied, right? And then you get to the ones where you have to leave like a comment and it's mandatory. It's like, well, now I have to like justify, like I can't just write a sentence, like really explain. Why can't I just skip this one?
Like when you get the eBay survey and it's like, did this person go out of their way? And you just say yes. You don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You just want to say yes.
You just don't want to be inconvenient. So it's easier if it's just a drop down option, yes or no. And then if you really wanted to explain, you can. But yeah, if people had to provide a certain amount of content or explain in detail, I think your feedback would go down.
Agreed. All right. Hey, real quick before we move on, if you're not following us on social media, We are Pure Hustle Podcast on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Facebook. We are Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter. If you're listening to the podcast, you want to catch some of the awesome video that we're showing, you can
hear Weird Al.
Or hear what? Well, they would hear Weird Al on the podcast, but
that's true.
If you want to see the words on the screen, you can come over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and hit that like button. We really appreciate our YouTube's been growing. I mean, we're growing slowly but surely, but for a podcast, I'm happy with our results. And on top of that, also, thank you so much for all of you that continue to support us in many ways. We've had some people buy stuff through our affiliate link, so we're grateful for that. People are buying shirts. We're thankful for that. And the thing is that despite all that's going on, people are still helping us out. We've gotten donations lately, which I'm like, hey, we just appreciate that because it definitely helps us. And if we get we're losing ad revenue, right? Possibly in this episode, so that'll compensate for that lost ad revenue. Yeah. And as always, thank you for all the reviews. We're 10 away from 300, Mike, on Apple. So
come on, you guys can get us there. I believe it.
I believe it. All right, thank you so much. All right, let's move on with a reaction.
Well, eBay's market value is now worth more than Bloomingdale's, Macy's, Sears, and Toys R Us combined.
Toys R Us, huh?
Why has it been the most successful company to come out of the internet revolution?
It was an entirely new idea that took advantage of the net. There's no land-based analog
She's very
for eBay.
scripted.
We hold no inventory. We ship no product.
That's right. No inventory, no products.
Yep. Just brokers. I like it.
Are you good with that? Okay, let's land here a little bit. Managed delivery went away.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was a good? Okay, before I ask you that, so managed delivery was eBay's competitor to Amazon, right? And it was basically that eBay was going to have fulfillment centers throughout the country that you can send inventory in. I think it was going to be used stuff eventually. I really do. I mean, they had to set up the catalog. And that's the reason there's a lot of item specifics, because they're setting up catalogs. But that was the goal. But as soon as, the old CEO, Devin Wenig, went away, that went away. And because of the pandemic and everything, I think they were just like, all right, there's too much going on.
Yeah.
Now, in retrospect, right, because of Amazon not being able to fulfill the need, right? Because even till now, Amazon's still struggling because of the pandemic, being able to fulfill orders. Do you think eBay missed an opportunity, or do you think they made the right call?
Yeah, I think they made the right call. I just think eBay and Amazon are two different things. And I think Amazon is the Goliath, the Titan in the situation, right? They're different. They're a different type of company. And that's really, it comes down to, people see them as the same because you are buying things online, but they're two totally different ways of doing things, right? So I think the good example is Swap Me, not saying that it's just junk on eBay, but the way it is, like, people rent a booth and they sell their own things, versus Target, which is selling things on the shelf and all the inventory is being shipped and stored through Target or Costco or something like that. So they're two totally different systems. And I think that eBay does what it does very well. And I think there's things they can do better, but I think they need to stay in their lane. I think the moment they try and say, we are going to try and do these things in order to be competitive, well, I don't think that's actually being competitive. I think they're trying to break into a different market, a different style of selling. And that's not necessarily competitive. At that point, I don't know. I just feel like do what they do very well and make it better, as opposed to try and copy what other people do, which is completely different.
Yeah. And, I agree with you. I mean, I was asking you as a form of getting the truth out there, but, I look at the pandemic, the strength of eBay was that there were individual sellers that had the products that could ship stuff out right away, right? I think eBay would have been in the same scenario, and I think it would have been worse, right? Because Amazon had to give up on their own, like they gave up on their own shipping program, right? I mean, they were having this huge rollout, and they cut themselves away from FedEx because they learned what they wanted to learn from FedEx, and they were going to have their own shipping distribution, and then they realized, yeah, we can't do it. eBay was just getting started with the logistics side, and basically it was going to be different companies bidding, right, to do the shipping. I think the strength of eBay is that it's this idea of self-interest is, and I'm not saying it's true, but there's value to the idea that self-interest is a virtue, in the sense that everybody in their own self-interest was going to make sure to get those items out because they want constant buyers coming to them, right? And so they want their products to be selling, right? And if it was managed delivery, especially the fact that, let's say things broke down logistically, it would have been a mess for eBay. But instead, the reason that people went to eBay instead of Amazon is because people could say, you know what, I'll ship that out in a day or two, or Amazon's like, it's going to take a month.
Yeah. And I think too, like another good example, because this isn't just picking on eBay, me saying that they shouldn't try and do what Amazon does. I think the same thing goes for Amazon. Like Amazon is a logistics company, which is why they were able to do what they did, right? They're a store, but primarily they're a warehouse logistics company that deals with shipping, storage, right? And they have an interface. That's what Amazon the strength of Amazon. Amazon kind of has the mentality of, hey, we've really taken over the retail world, especially the online retail world. Let's take over other sectors of the economy, right? So I think their push into, Amazon Prime for movies and TV shows, maybe not the best bet for that, right? Like, who's really saying that Amazon is better than Netflix, right? Like, Amazon
there's
movies,
good movies.
There's a handful, but reality, if you're going to pay, now the nice thing is
Jack Ryan's pretty good.
And again, I'm saying that there are some good ones, but the reality is they're kind of not a competitor because that's not what they do best. Now, I think what Amazon is ultimately doing, maybe this is conspiracy, but I think what they do when they do things like that is they're getting more customer data, right?
Oh no, that's what they're doing.
Yes.
I think they've said that openly.
Yeah. So if you're logged in, because if you're paying for Prime, the nice thing is you just get it, right? Unlike Prime Music, which you have to pay for, but if you get Amazon Prime movies and TV, and the ones that come free, now it is nice when you can rent them, but there's other platforms you can rent, Google Play or Apple or other platforms. But if whatever you watch is now they have that data. So that's important for them. Like, what types of movies and shows do you watch? Do you watch mostly action movies? Okay, now we can categorize you. People who watch action movies tend to buy these types of things. Those are the ads you're going to get, right? So they have more customer data, but do I really think that they're going to be a competitor to Netflix and Disney Plus and those shows, those programs? I don't think it's the same thing, right? Like, I don't think they're going to do that well and be like, who's Netflix? Now we have Amazon.
We definitely will know if eBay's trying to be like Amazon again, if eBay begins to stream movies.
Yeah, we're going to stream. We have eBay streaming. So you can buy the DVD or you
Weird Al, the complete collection, eBay streaming.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's time to move on.
Buying and selling. They're also talking online in chat rooms.
Oh,
I spend 12 to 15 hours a day.
No,
I boot up between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning, and I usually shut down about 2. We spend more time together on the boards than I do with my own family.
Are on social media.
I'm not sure that's good.
Yeah.
Or listen to the podcast.
You might want to edit that part out. Yeah,
It's way.
All right. So why did Orlando put that clip in there? To me, it's evidence of how grassroots eBay is. Right? It's very, like, you think about it, like, I mean, Poshmark's kind of like that right now, right? But outside of that, there's not many platforms where sellers like communicate with one another.
Yeah, but who's chatting? Who's using eBay chat?
Well, we're not on the community forum though.
Yeah, but
and we're not in Facebook groups, which are massive.
Okay, yeah, but that's the thing. That's on Facebook. That's on right. So I think that goes back to almost when chat rooms and forums were big.
Chat rooms.
Forums were, I remember when I was in junior high school, forums were the thing. Like didn't matter what industry you're into, what niche you were into, there was a model airplane forum. There was a pigeon flying forum. Like anything you were into, there was a forum for it. And it was neat because you could see what the hot topics were, people were talking about, and then you'd go and you'd create a thread and you could ask a question and people would answer. And that's been replaced by social media, and it's been replaced by Reddit and other things. And so I just don't think that anybody's going on eBay, treating eBay as their social media. Now, I know eBay talked about trying to potentially incorporate more of a social media aspect to it. And we've talked about the fact that social media platforms like Facebook, who are breaking into the selling market, there is a crossover, but I just don't think anybody's using eBay for that. And when I say anybody, I know there are people, but I don't think it's a big enough thing that it makes a difference.
No, and I know that's true. I mean, oh man, I just shook the camera. Sorry guys, if you're watching on YouTube, that was on me. All right, so eBay has a community forum, and I really think eBay needs to delve more into the social media. And the reason I say is this, I know this because whenever they had this thing, I don't know if you remember, they were doing the eBay town halls, right? The virtual town hall. And I think they're having some again. But I remember we had our question about eliminating either final value fees or store subscriptions, right? We still to this, I think we're in unison about this, or unified, whatever word you want to use. That one or the other needs to go,
or listing fees, or you know what I mean. Like there's 3 fees, one of the 3 can go.
Yeah, one of them has to go, and we are and we don't have a huge following, but we don't have a small following, right? And here's the thing, like. Our question, like people didn't even know that these town halls were happening, right? People didn't even, and then when we asked for people to give us thumbs up for the question, I think the question that won didn't even have 1,000 thumbs up. Like think about that. There's millions upon millions of sellers on eBay, whether they are full-time, part-time, or just the random person every once in a while that lists something. And so I don't know. Maybe things were different back then. Let us know in the comments. Those of you that listen to us have been around not for a while, but been on eBay for a while.
He's not calling you old.
No, I'm not. Season. I don't even think that works anymore. Anyways, all right. So let's talk about networking. Let's get to the next clip here.
Sure. Okay.
Now the entire List family is part of the action. Here's how they work it. Laurie models an outfit. Her sister snaps the picture. Her brother-in-law puts it on eBay. As the bids start coming in, her mother monitors the auction.
She'll wake up in the middle of the night and she'll be like, "Did you see the bid?" I'm like, "Mother, it's 3:00 in the morning. Go to bed. What are you doing up?"
The shipping department is in the kitchen where Mom and Dad are packing boxes to send around the globe. They keep their inventory, their Prada shoes, their Gucci's, and their Chanel's in the garage. They ran out of room in this one, so they just bought 3 brand new houses all in a row with their eBay profits.
Whoa. We don't do it to make a fortune. We do it just so we can stay home. I stay home with my son. She's at home. It's like we all just work together, and it's like we have a good time.
Who was the photographer on this one? Well, I told you that the clip was in the way.
And a good family business. They've become so established on eBay, they no longer have to go looking for bargains. The deals come to them. Department stores have found a new way to move merchandise.
The day the manager tells the salesman, "Hey, this stuff's going to get marked down, 50% tomorrow," our phone rings. They call us. "The stuff's going on sale on Wednesday. Pull us this, pull us that." We know all the shoes.
It's genius.
So we pull everything. They pull it all, and they just ship it to us.
You have to go in and tell them what you want.
No, we don't. They know what we buy, and they know what we sell.
Yeah.
And a lot of them look at our sites.
They know you can move those products.
Exactly.
I mean, hey, they're selling high end. That's why they're getting 3 houses. Yeah, it's good for networking, though.
Well, I mean, there's a few things in there. One is the idea that, and even with your wife being able to stay home now, right? And the fact that you're in a fifth wheel, like eBay provided that, right? I mean, to me, if there's, we talked about this in our top 10 myths that we dispel, or that's not the title of the episode, but whatever. Our last episode was, a lot of people for a reason don't think that you can make it happen on eBay. You can make it happen on eBay, but it takes work. I mean, you take a look at that. That was a full scale family operation. Mm-hmm. You see the digital camera, that'd be painful.
Yeah, that's rough.
Now your phone. You think that was 2 megapixels?
But then again, because it was so challenging, there was probably fewer sellers.
Okay, that's the other point I want to bring about, was that if you want to make it and reselling, it takes work. And especially when you want to make it happen on eBay. Amazon still takes work. I see these ads about, and unfortunately they show up on our YouTube channel, but it's the automation one, right? You can buy an automated Amazon store. All you have to do is drop the money and we'll take care of everything. We'll provide the customer service, It's not that easy.
Yeah, not only is it not that easy, but like that should be a clear sign that that doesn't work. Because, like I mentioned before, I've known people who've gotten suckered into like different scams, and a lot of times, the idea is if it's that good to be true, that too good to be true, then it obviously is. Because, for instance, I'm able to buy a house for only $137. Buy your house for pennies on the dollar, and then there's like whatever the situation is that like allows you to do this. And I'm going to teach you how to do it for only $59.99. It's like, okay, if you could really buy a house for $137 and you're buying multiple of them, there's so many of them out there. Why do you care about getting $59?
100%.
I agree. It just seems silly to me, because if you can automate and guarantee, like I can.
Well, these companies charge thousands, right? Because that's the hook,
right?
You pay the few hundred, you go to the course, then you want to know more, a few hundred more. You want to know more? Now let's talk about the thousands now.
But if that were true, though, let's just say that, give any number, 10,000, 100,000. Give me $100,000. I'll give you an Amazon store that'll guarantee you make you $500,000 a year. Well, if you can make a store that makes $500,000 a year, you would make that and not want my $100,000. There's more profit in it for you to just make it the store yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree. And here's the other thing I want to talk about that too, is that even back then, right, these individuals never hid that they were sellers. Now it's a little different, and it's kind of interesting because there's no discussion of thrift stores at this point in time. Now I'm 100% sure there were a lot of people that were going to thrift stores back then. There weren't as many thrift stores. Do you remember there being a lot of thrift stores during your time?
I mean, the town I grew up in only had like 3, but it wasn't a huge town. So
yeah, I mean, it was definitely and again, growing up, I've shared before. You know, going to a thrift store wasn't like I never cared to go to the thrift store, right? And now it's the primary place I like going to. But you know, again, they networked, right? They had relationship with the managers that were looking to move merchandise, and that story is still true, right? And you can do it with retail arbitrage. You can do it with business cards, like Mike. You know, got his. How long has it been since business card?
It's been a while. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to give too many out recently.
But did it pay for itself already?
Oh yeah,
yeah, right. How much did you drop? $50?
Yeah, like 37 or 38 bucks. It wasn't.
And is it safe to say you at least tripled that money?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think you did way more than that. I would say I've made thousands off a $50 investment on a business card, right? Because people are always looking to move merchandise. Now it's interesting. They bought 3 houses in a row, and I was wondering, were all those houses storage? Is that what they're saying?
No, I'm sure because it's a business operation. I'm sure the garages in them are storage to an extent, but just probably so each of the family members can live close together and wake up and go to work without having to commute. Right? Efficiency is key.
It'd be interesting that if is it Laura Lister? I think was her name. That's an ironic name,
Laura Lister.
If she's listening, hit us up.
Yeah. We'll tell us about your house.
Yeah, we'd love
to your house is.
To maybe have on the podcast. And if you're still doing this, that's what I want to know. Like I know a handful of people that started doing eBay in 1999 and they're still doing eBay. Right? And this is the question I've always had. Like, will I be doing this for 10 years? I mean, I'm going on year 2 full time, but will this be the same story 5 years and 10 years?
It's true.
I don't know. We'll see. All right. There's some interesting clips coming up here, by the way.
eBay got really hot. About a year ago, eBay started something they call Buy It Now. Ooh. Sellers no longer had to set up an auction. They could sell retail directly to the customer, just like Lori List did with her Prada shoes. And that's when the heavy hitters came on the site. Now, IBM sells home computers on eBay. No costly overhead, no store, no sales staff. Disney offers vacations and all things Mickey and Minnie. With all this action, eBay has hit the jackpot. Profits are up 71% from this time last year. Wow, over 71%. A quarter of that from these direct sales.
I'm sure eBay
with respect to big companies, big companies do sell on eBay, and they find it to be a very cost-effective distribution channel. But they sell on the same terms as you as an individual would sell.
And you're not going to give them anything special. Yeah, no advertising, no promotion, whatever.
We aren't. And the reason is that we think it's important to have this level playing field. So your neighbor next door has an equal chance of success as a large corporation.
You know what? It reminds me of the Reebok fiasco.
Yep, exactly. And that's part of what I was going to say. And then the other thing too.
Wait, let's give context real quick.
Go for it.
So Reebok, if you guys listen to our podcast, had a glitch in their system, and their shoes were selling like for crazy low. And so a bunch of people bought it, and instead of making good, right, on their sales, they just canceled. And not only did they cancel, they actually accepted the payment, and they ended up I think they acted like they were shipping, and then they canceled after the fact.
Yeah, I don't remember necessarily exactly that. If
like they did the refund through PayPal. Like they had nothing to do with eBay, and they got slammed with negative feedback.
All gone.
But it didn't matter. Yeah,
and then here's the thing. So we've talked before about like the benefit of having eBay concierge and those types of things. So to act like eBay is not going to have any kind of preferential treatment towards certain groups, right? If you're top rated seller, you're talking about somebody who's selling, we talked about people who are at eBay Open who sell car parts, who are in the top 1% of their sellers, and they're selling millions of dollars worth of product. You're telling me that if they don't have a problem, there's not somebody there that they could talk to almost instantly and get something fixed, or if a customer damages something, that they don't have a little bit more like flexibility?
Yeah, I think things have changed, right? I mean, there's viral listings, right? If I use certain words like 1Z, or if I use Velcro, like my listing will get pulled, right? So yeah, I see that. I think it's still kind of along what they're saying. Like when I think about Amazon, like Amazon gives 100% preferential treatment to the big companies, right? I mean, Amazon will, if a company does not like that you're selling their product, Amazon will just hand over all your information to them. And next thing you know, you're getting letters in the mail, right? And from law firms and da-da-da. eBay, I've been selling on eBay for over a decade. I have never, ever, now, not to say it doesn't happen, but I have no fear on eBay.
Yeah, but that's only one aspect of preferential treatment.
Yeah,
that's
okay, I see what you're saying.
But what I'm saying is, she made it sound like they're getting the exact same opportunities as everybody else. I'm sure that they're getting bulk discounts. If they're listing, 5,000 items every day.
No, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, though.
No, I'm not saying there is either. I'm just saying to act like they're paying the exact same amounts, the same fees. They're not getting a break because they're doing a certain amount of volume of stuff. I don't believe that.
Okay, well, she's not the CEO anymore.
That's
so
true.
We're good.
Maybe back in the day it was, but I don't think that's good business practice even. I think you do have to, same thing with shipping, right? Like we talk about, if you're shipping in lots of bulk, you should be able to work out some kind of deal with the USPS, right? And big companies do, or with UPS, right? Corporations, like if you work for a corporation that ships lots and lots of things, a lot of times they offer.
Well, that's why eBay gives you a greater discount.
Yeah, a greater discount.
Yeah, like when you're a top rated seller, I think you get a reduction in fees.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's an aspect of it that we don't see as everyday sellers that, so yeah. And again, that's good business practice. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just think to frame it that they have the exact same treatment, and I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
That's right.
And to maintain order in this brave new world, Omidyar developed a feedback system rating customer satisfaction. The reputation of a seller is critical. Too many negative comments, and you're banned as an eBay seller forever. eBay does investigate fraud claims, but relies mainly on buyers and sellers to police themselves.
I really started the company on the notion that people are basically good, that if you give someone the benefit of the doubt, you're rarely disappointed.
How often do people not deliver on their promise?
It's very rare. Historically, it's been 30 out of a million transactions.
30 out of a million?
Yeah.
That's pretty good if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't see that necessarily being too far off. I mean, those may be where the statistics then. Who knows what they are now. What I was going to say earlier is we were talking about the feedback forum as if it was like the feedback system, comment system we have now. And a forum would be different because that would just be out in the open. Like you could like search a seller. So it wouldn't necessarily be like on their account. This looks like this is probably a newer thing that came out after the feedback forum. Because a forum would be an open place, basically like a place where you can, put up on a wall somewhere like, hey, this buyer that I bought from or this seller cheated me. They shipped broken stuff and they wouldn't return it, right? And then you could put it up and basically you could almost publicly shame them. And he says, but at the same time, make sure to say positive things about people too. So this is more directly almost like an account, like you're actually providing feedback to an individual account instead of putting it out there in the open, like an open forum. Because again, who would look at that? Like who's going to be, unless you're like, should I buy this? I'm going to go search the seller. Has their name been blasted in the past? But I think the system now makes obviously a lot more sense.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know if it's the same. Like right now, things have changed, and I think Amazon has forced a change. The reason I say, they're very much talking about that it's between the buyer and the seller, and for the most part, eBay wants you to resolve things. Like they don't want to get involved. But I do feel like with their money back guarantee, right? The fact that you can choose not to accept returns, but they can still say you must accept the returns. I think it's moved away from that. And I think it's moved away from that because they kind of don't have options. Because if other platforms are the ones like Poshmark's, like it's not between the buyer and the seller. Poshmark makes the decision, right? If somebody appeals something, it's not between the two people. And Poshmark did that on purpose, I believe, because they wanted to get the pressure off of sellers. I like that eBay, once you get to top rated seller, it's really up to you. Like, I think eBay really sides with you, especially if you offer free returns. But I think that some of that has gone away. Just my thoughts. All right.
Yep. Good. All right, here we go.
$1 million? Yeah. Can you challenge Walmart?
Well, remember, we have a different business model. I think we can challenge Walmart in terms of the economic activity that takes place on the site. Our business model is to connect buyers and sellers. And so ultimately, our buyers and sellers may do more economic activity than a Walmart, but it is not one group of people deciding what to buy. It is the power of many sellers.
Well, that's old school right there. Walmart was the only thing they were worried about.
Yeah. Right? Which still is, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, brick and mortar retailer around.
You know what's interesting? We didn't mention this, and I dropped the ball on this. So the new eBay CEO was part of the Walmart online commerce, e-commerce. And remember, Walmart lost, I think, like $2 billion last year, but they were losing it trying to beat Amazon.
Yep.
Right. So I say all that because with that experience now, I wonder, like, was there a lot learned? Like, hey, we probably shouldn't go down this road anymore. Or was a lot learned like, hey, here's how we can make eBay better. Or maybe, like we've said, and I think most people that are whatever YouTube influencers that are resellers would say, like, eBay just needs to do its own thing. Like, we got to stop being like trying to be like Amazon.
Yeah. And it makes sense that Walmart would try and take on Amazon because Amazon is an online Walmart, right? Like, not necessarily like Walmart, but it's a retail store where eBay is not a retail store, right? It's an online auction house / store that it's just a broker that's connecting buyers and sellers. So it makes sense that Walmart would try and challenge Amazon in that element. I just don't think eBay should, just because it's just like she said there. eBay might be doing as much or getting close to or trying to make as much economic activity, but that doesn't mean that they're going to change their business model, because if they change their business model, who knows what'll happen.
All right, now this next clip is super interesting.
Let's see it.
Power sellers.
And thousands of successful sellers from all over the world showed up at eBay's first national convention in Anaheim last summer.
Many people were there. I've been there.
And the company had a reward for its big sellers.
Beginning this fall, we'll make it possible for power sellers to access low-cost premium health insurance, including vision, dental, and pharmacy coverage.
It brought tears to my eyes when I heard that.
A fitting reward.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Different time, right? Like, maybe there wasn't as much publicly available that you could buy your own insurance, right? That only through companies. Now, I think a lot of time, if you're an entrepreneur.
Well, that's done now.
Oh, yeah.
With the Affordable Care Act, it's not an option anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So now everybody has to buy insurance, and there's a market to buy insurance. So if you're a full-time reseller that doesn't have another opportunity, another job that's offering that as kind of deferred income that you can use as a benefit, then yeah, you need to purchase insurance. And it'd be nice if you could get it through another platform, but there's already so many platforms out there competing. I think it'd be hard for eBay to take on the liability of trying to compete to offer insurance cheaper than these other open markets are already competing to offer insurance and get your business. And so maybe it makes sense that they don't do that, primarily because somebody's got to pay for that, right? Like, eBay's got a bottom line that they're trying to meet. And if they all of a sudden have to pay out a percentage of that to their top sellers, which again, I don't think a power seller
would hurt eBay.
What's that?
Doing that would hurt eBay.
Oh yeah. But see, the thing is, if it's going to hurt eBay is going to have to raise fees. They're going to have to raise prices in order to keep that bottom line where it is, which is ultimately going to hurt sellers, right? And sellers aren't going to be able to sell the same, so it's going to hurt buyers, right? So it would just have a trickle-down effect. You got to think of like when that domino falls, what falls next. And so yeah, we could kind of dream and say it'd be nice if eBay offered a 401k, right? But at the same time, it's not their job, and they do to people who are employed by eBay. You're not employed by eBay, right? You are employed by yourself if you're doing this full time.
Yeah, but I do like if there was an option, I would like to. I think the option's nice. I think options are always nice. To me, it's interesting. I actually pulled up old school information, and even eBay was concerned. Like, eBay said, "Now you can't pull this up." Now this is back in the day when being a power seller mattered. Like, now it doesn't matter. Now, top rated seller, did away with all of that, right? That's why you might get something that says power seller and you got like a bronze star or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it means something, but everything I've learned doesn't mean anything. Let us know in the comments. I know some of you that would listen to our podcast used to get certificates in the mail that you could put on your fridge once you reach a certain status. It's true. Nice. True. They used to give them. All right. So they said, healthcare insurance is a very complicated issue, varying greatly by state and type of coverage. In the Healthcare Solutions Program, Marsh Advantage America has worked to find plans that are available in as many states as possible, along with providing the unique situation of a small business owner. Power sellers are not employees of eBay, and therefore the insurance coverage cannot be supplemented as in many employer/employee relationships. So I think it was nice. I mean, I remember when I first caught that, I was like, that would be pretty awesome. But then I started thinking about health insurance. The impact it would have. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, you think about people complain about 10%. To try to cover everybody, especially when, you know, you bring in all kinds of different scenarios, like you could be in for a mess. So,
yep.
All right,
here we go. I think this is getting close to the end here.
Fitting reward for all the average Americans who started new businesses on eBay in the past few years. The mom and pop outfits who are selling treasures from the attic, the garage, or wherever else they find it. They are the backbone of eBay.
They think you work for them.
And we do.
They think they are eBay.
Well, you know what? They are. And we actually do work for them. That is not a myth. That's not a PR spin. That actually happens to be the case. And it's the soul of eBay.
Corporate, but populist too.
Yes. By the people, for the people.
And of the people.
Yeah, I think what's good about that, I mean, the reality is it makes sense because their platform, and we've talked probably ad nauseum about the differences between Amazon and eBay, so I'm not going to even bring that up. But the same things we've talked about there apply. But eBay, as kind of working as a broker, they're trying to get business. They want to bring in people, and they do kind of work, and we pay a fee, right? Like any business, like if you get your car washed, if you go anywhere you go and you're getting a service provided, that's what eBay's doing. eBay's providing a service, and so the customer and the seller both are coming together, and eBay is acting as the service provider for both of those groups. And so it makes sense that, you know, people would kind of have that feeling of eBay works for me because I'm using your platform, you know, and or I can go to somewhere else, right? Maybe at that time there wasn't a somewhere else, but there's other platforms you can use now. And so platforms have to kind of fight to get people to be on there. And so that's why they offer as many things they can do. They try and lower fees or whatever they do in order to keep people coming to them because they're a service. They're providing a service.
Yeah. And again, to me, it's very clear. Like, and I've said this many times, like eBay is very seller centric.
Yeah. Because we're their customer.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, we have talked ad nauseum about the differences, but I think eBay has continued to keep those grassroots, and I hope that as we move forward after these 25 years, I hope that's still the case. You know, I do miss eBay. We've talked about missing eBay Open, and obviously because of the pandemic, we can't even do eBay upfront or any of that. But the beauty of it is that, yeah, I can choose what I want to sell. There's very few restrictions, right? Yeah, there's, you know, obviously there's, you know, gatekeepers to make sure that people aren't selling junk or whatever. But overall, there is an opportunity for every single, it is of the people, by the people. Like if you want to be new to selling and reselling, which is the same thing, but if you want to get into this game, we still, I don't know if Mike's changed his mind, but since episode 1, I think eBay is the first place. Now, there are other platforms out there. Don't get me wrong, but there isn't a platform that you can get as many eyes on your item, a platform that allows you to sell international with very few problems if you go eBay Global Shipping. And overall, like there's so many people that do eBay. There's so much information out there. It's definitely doable, right? And you don't have to do all the other things that other platforms require. So anyways, hopefully this was encouraged. Hopefully this motivated you that people have been doing this for a while and you can definitely get into it yourself.
Yeah, here's to the next 25 years, eBay.
There you go.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Anyways, with that being said, hey, hopefully you found this at least, some value or entertaining, or at least helped you to listen in the background and not feel alone.
I bought on eBay.
And on that note, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Please.